Please remember, the views expressed on Albertans in Space by our guests and hosts alike are opinions and do not represent the entire industry as a whole. Our podcast serves only as a platform, and all topics discussed are primarily for educational purposes only. Welcome to Albertans in Space, the series where we talk to Albertans making waves in the local and global space industry. In today's episode, we invite Amanda Green to discuss with us educating and inspiring the next generation of space professionals and enthusiasts and how important it is to cultivate a passion for space. And I'm your host, Zach Trolley.
And I'm the co-host and space sidekick, Megan Westelmajor. Zach, why didn't the sun go to college?
I don't know why. Why didn't the sun go to college?
It already had like 1,000,000 degrees.
All right. I'll give it to you. Albertans in Space is filmed in the city of Calgary on Treaty 7 territory. This land, traditionally called Mohkinsis, belongs to many nations and peoples who make their home here. And we honor the traditions taught by our elders to acknowledge the generosity of Mother Earth and to take care of this land as humanity expands to new worlds.
Honestly, every time I hear the phrase, the next generation, I think of Star Trek immediately.
To boldly go where no one has gone before. It's cheesy, but that's actually what we are doing, every day, whether we're, astronauts in space or doing space education, we are looking to that new horizon and seeing things that have never happened before. A really important question, Megan, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, it's a tough one, but I have to say Star Wars. I am loving the new Disney Plus lineup, the new TV spinoffs from Andor, Mandalorian, and I love the film series. I thought it was perfect the way it was, but having these upgraded technology, worlds to consume, I'm all for it. I'm a super consumer of television, so of course I'm gonna say
binge it all.
I'm gonna say Star Wars because it's just a classic. What about you? Do I even need to ask?
I am Star Trek through and through. Growing up, I would watch it, and I wasn't one for the captain's chair. I always wanted to, be Miles O'Brien or Geordi LaForge in the engine room doing engineering. I mean, working on the warp drive, dream job. I sometimes put that the warp drive sound on like a 10-hour loop and listen to it when I'm doing work. So that's the level of nerd where you're working with here.
I think that's amazing. And you know what? There's still time.
There's still time to get there one day.
If anyone knows that job, can give it to Zach, please.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm out there. Anybody who has a warp core that he's working on, let me know. Throw it out there to the sound booth. Star Wars, Star Trek, what are we feeling?
Okay, 50-50. Sandra Lynn, who is our co-producer, writer, she's 50-50. Okay, James, sound engineer, he's throwing a curveball saying Dune. And Dan, our cameraman.
I'm going to go with Star Wars. I enjoy dressing up in different outfits and playing with lightsabers.
The costume avenue, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as I mentioned before in some of the previous episodes, I was not a great student. I really struggled taking tests, and for a lot of people, academics is a big hurdle for getting to space because it is so technical. But there are lots of ways to participate in the space industries, kids and adults. We all learn differently. We have different talents and skills, and there are different ways to get to space and participate in space outside of math and physics.
Like you said in our first episode, you got to follow your path. You never know where it can lead you. All of our guests this season have had different origin stories, but what is consistent is they speak so highly about their mentors and teachers who have supported their educational and professional journeys. Some of them have side hustles, but space is truly their passion.
Right. My day job is my side hustle.
Exactly. I was also a kid with learning struggles / hurdles. I don't like calling them disabilities because, everyone learns a different way. I didn't think I was going to do well in school or beyond. I had terrible self-esteem and I was terrible at tests, just like you. Especially math. Learning math and French is also very hard, guys. So I had to quit it and do English math, but it didn't really help. I still failed. But now I work in film and television, and I work on budgets that are low to over $1 million. Someone trusts me with their money. It's crazy. Being able to pursue your dreams can be a reality no matter what. I truly believe if you have the passion and surround yourself with people who encourage and lift you up, you're golden.
Now, to educate our children is no easy task in our complex world. I think it's one of the most important jobs in our society right now. So when we do come across a teacher that excels and connects with their students to meet their needs and to help them flourish, we as a community, we need to celebrate them. And that's why I'm so delighted to introduce our audience to today's guest, Amanda Green.
Amanda Green is a middle school STEM educator from Beaumont, Alberta, with a passion for teaching science, math, coding, and STEM classes in both English and French. As a lover of nature since childhood, her desire to educate our next generation on taking care of our world gives us hope that the Albertans of tomorrow will gain the knowledge needed to build a better, more sustainable future. Graduating with a bachelor's degree in education from the University of Alberta in the early 2000s, Amanda began her career as a biological science teacher in Monterrey, Mexico. She has since taught various subjects in multiple cities in northern Alberta. In 2018, Amanda gained her first bout of recognition by being awarded the Outstanding Science Teacher Award from the ATA Science Council. This was followed by the Learning for Sustainable Futures Earth Steward Teaching Award in 2021. In 2022, she was given the Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence in STEM Certificate of Achievement. Her passion to save and take care of our world and future worlds led Amanda to discover her other passion, space, the subject of this podcast.
That's what we're here for.
She is a Canadian Space Ambassador and is a member of the Board of Directors for Inside Education.
You know, sometimes oftentimes I'm blown away by the talent that we have in this province. But just a quick area of clarification: where is Beaumont, Alberta?
I had to Google it. It's about 40-minute drive south of Edmonton. Apparently, it began as a French settlement in 1895. No wonder she's bilingual, and is known for its picturesque church on the hill. I feel like an educator.
We are learning things every single day. It's fantastic. I didn't know we had that much French. I didn't know there was that many French settlements. Do parlez-vous française?
Un petit peu. Je suis une pizza avec du fromage.
Amazing. That sounds right to me.
You know, that's 7 years of French immersion right there for you.
I think it's wonderful that Amanda teaches in both English and French. She has such a great presence. I met her at a space conference years ago. She was speaking on a panel that I was moderating, and her passion was palpable. It was amazing to see how excited she got about teaching, and being sustainable and honoring and protecting Indigenous cultures as well.
Why does sustainability and protecting Indigenous culture matter when we talk about space education?
Well, you know what? We're going to find out.
You are officially our last guest on season 1 of Albertans in Space. It felt fitting to end the season with an episode on education. The common theme, the common thread that has been weaved throughout this whole season is how important it is to never stop learning. Having you on today's episode is such a great way to talk about the next generation of minds, of people who are interested in space. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, you just sort of summed up my entire existence.
So where does your spark for space start? What's your driver? What's that story like?
I love that you use the word spark, because I use that all the time when I give any speeches or when I talk to other teachers. And I want you to think back to that moment where your spark, your beginning of your journey, your big bang, that brought you to whatever it is you're passionate about. I always say my spark for science was exploring nature, hunting and fishing with my father, camping with my family. But my spark for space was Chris Hadfield when he was the commander of the International Space Station. And he would tweet every day, "Good morning, Earth." And I was like, "Good morning, Chris. How are you?" It's like he was talking right to me. And it was such an exciting time to be a Canadian in love with space. And to be honest, I'm a biology major. I had taught the space curriculum a little bit and it was good. But once I was like, whoa, look what Canada can do, I became irreparably, unapologetically obsessed with space exploration ever since. I dressed up as Chris Hadfield for Halloween that year. I had a flight suit and a mustache. And at that time, I was teaching grade 7 and grade 8. And here in Alberta, the space curriculum's primarily grade 6 and grade 9. But it has become my superpower that now I can make any topic, any subject, have something to do with space exploration, because there's
love
just
that.
so much technology and there's so many innovations and things that we need, and it's so holistic to be able to do these amazing things. It can't just be a scientist or just be, you know, a mathematician or an artist. We need everybody together. So I was able to make grade 7 all about space, and it was awesome.
That is amazing. Thank you for doing that.
That is really
you know.
cool. And what was the feedback from your students when you made grade 7 about space?
Well, the thing is, as a teacher, we do our best when we're passionate about what we teach about. I remember I had a grade 5 teacher obsessed with the Phantom of the Opera. So we learned French through the Phantom of the Opera. I had another teacher who was obsessed with traveling. We learned social studies through his stories of traveling all over Europe. Mine became space exploration. And to this day, like when we have our grade 9 farewell, they get up and they say a little speech. They roast the teachers before we come up and hand out our little certificates. And every single year, my roast starts with, well, Madame Green is very, very passionate teacher. And when she loves something, you'll know it. We learned more about these 2 random men, Chris Hadfield and Jeremy Hansen, than anything else this year. I was like, oh. And I think they just appreciate that passion more than even the content area. It could be about anything. But I do get occasionally students, I've actually had 2 or 3 this year, come back and say, hey, I'm really interested in the space industry. Where should I go? When you love something, when you're passionate about it, throw yourself into it and make every choice you make about how can I get there. Chris Hadfield taught me that too. I have a poster on my classroom.
I totally agree with you. I remember those conversations with teachers that were passionate about what they wanted to teach, and those stick with you more than we just have to follow this curriculum.
So you mentioned your love for nature and things outdoors, and how does that translate to space? I mean, from the outside observer, it seems someone who likes walking in the woods wouldn't necessarily like, you know, hanging out in spaceships. So what's the crossover there?
Exploring things and seeing how they work was kind of how I started. And I studied a lot of oceanography. I studied on Banfield Marine Station on Vancouver Island. And I love all of those things. And when I started, you know, taking this crazy path, following Chris Hadfield and all the Canadian astronauts and just my space journey, at first, it was just purely because, wow, this is so big and so amazing. And I just so much like pride in my country and what we could do. Because you'd always hear about NASA and you'd hear about all these things, but I had no idea that we were this involved. And so it started off with some patriotism, I think, at first. And where I made that connection that really brought things to solidify, I wanted to get some funding, a grant, because we don't have a lot of funding for extra things in schools. Like we have our basics. I have a very good community, very supportive parent council, and we do okay. But if you want to do those extra things that like really pull kids in and really make it exciting, you need money.
Right.
And so I applied. I wanted to do a grant with my friend Julie Arsenault. She is my space sister, my science teacher soulmate. She is amazing. And so we applied for a grant together with a company called Inside Education. So they're a local Alberta company, and they work in environmental education, energy education, forestry, everything. They're amazing. I'm actually on their board now because I just love them so much. If I want to study space exploration, but I need to make it about the environment, how am I going to get that creative funding together? Well, it has become this amazing journey where we look at the limited resources, the limited energy, the limited everything when you're off planet, whether it be in a capsule, whether it be in a space station, on the moon, especially on Mars.
Yep.
And how are you going to survive? You can't always bring everything you need. So do you need to grow plants? Do you need water? Everything. So the first grant we got simulated Martian regolith, basically ground up lava rock. I just saw some guy on Twitter who was doing it for real in the Netherlands.
Really?
I was like, hey, why can't we do that? You know why we can't do that? Because one pail of it is like $200, because to ship bricks of it, like we spent almost $3,000 to be able to grow tomatosphere space tomatoes. Tomatosphere is another thing from Let's Talk Science. I also worked with them as a teacher leader, and they were a great STEM company across Canada, or STEM education organization. And they had this thing called Tomatosphere. So you get tomato seeds, and half of them had been flown up to the International Space Station and brought back down, and you germinate them in class. And I've been doing this for 10, 12 years now. I love it. It's how I start day one of school. We plant these tomatoes, we run the experiment, teach the kids experimental design, scientific literacy, scientific method, all that. And so then you'd have these little tomato plants and you'd send them home. I'm like, well, why don't we grow them in class? Okay, well, let's grow them in Martian simulate. and let's watch The Martian and let's read The Martian, because in the book they mixed earth soil with Mars soil. So we did that in our classroom. And then we tried different types of fertilizers. Some kid brought in some really fresh manure. I had this great picture of me like this, and we're trying to mix it together because it is so foul.
Just fresh.
Fresh manure kills everything.
Really?
So you have to get burned everything, just dead. And lots of mistakes. So roundabout story, that connection between biology and nature and the environment and space exploration is that we need to be able to find these creative solutions. And it's evolved since then to like, Let's Talk Science Living Space involves environmental monitoring. So we have these little microbits or little pocket-sized computer that can do so much. And you can plug in all of these different components. And it's $30 for the basic component. So it's affordable. So another Inside Ed grant helped us do some environmental monitoring, and we compared here to the International Space Station. And the kids are like, Madam, look at the data, the line straight. I was like, because their like life support systems are so in tune. The second anything is off, the air filter kicks on, the water filter kicks on, whatever it is. And our data is like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Because carbon dioxide in a classroom with 30 kids, it goes up and down depending on how many humans are in the room, right? And it just led to a lot of really cool teachable moments. And that spark for space that I talked about, it's so exciting because it's incredible what we can do. And when we get kids excited about that, but then we say, remember, there is no plan B. There is no planet B. Mars is like, we'd love it, but you're going to die if you have to try to live on Mars. Radiation alone. But the challenge to even go there and to take that and to better life here on Earth, to take care of our planet first, to make sure that we have this beautiful home to come home to when we're exploring. So
learning sustainability through space exploration.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the name of our one of our projects, was sustainability for colonizing Mars.
Amazing.
And they built shelters and they had to test them for heat leaking out with infrared cameras. And it's just, I could go on and on about the things, but the most important thing is
no,
right?
No, not at all.
So my question is, did the tomatoes taste any different coming from the soil of Mars?
I never really did a taste test, but no, they were the same. Sometimes the leaves and the stems will get more red because of the anthocyanins were higher in some of them.
What is an anthocyanin? To the layman?
That's what it was. Well, I know anthocyanins are like those pigments that are like purple colored. So if you've ever had like butterfly pea flower tea or like, Empress gin.
Right. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Gin, it's purple. And you add lemon to it. It changes colors. pH. Yeah.
I know that.
Science. You should
right?
talk about science. Yeah.
It is. Oh, absolutely. We actually use it as a pH indicator for some of our labs, and we make paint out of it. Because I was following this lady on TikTok.
The gin?
Pigments. No. Not in school. That's for after school.
Yeah.
But you could take butterfly pea flower tea petals, get them into a powder form, or beet or cabbage or turmeric even, and you can like mix it with a base, create paint that changes colors with baking soda or vinegar.
So we watched an incredible interview with yourself and Wilfred Buck. You got to name an exoplanet and a star. Please tell me, first of all, what an exoplanet is and how that was. How did that come about? Tell us about it.
Oh, what an experience. So when you are passionate about what you love, people send you stuff, right? Like, hey, did you see this? And so someone from the U of A Observatory had given a talk there for teachers about space exploration and curriculum. And they're like, hey, did you see this contest? And I was like, oh, cool. And so it was from the International Astronomical Union. And they were given like, I don't know, was it 120 stars that were unnamed that they were letting different countries name. So Canada was given one of these stars. And they have this contest to name that star in an exoplanet. So an exoplanet is a star or a planet around a star outside of our solar system.
That's not ours.
That's not ours, yeah. Okay. The biggest part of my professional development for the past, I don't know, since just before COVID, 5-6 years, has been weaving Indigenous ways of knowing and being into STEM in an authentic, respectful way that avoids tokenisms. And I've made so many mistakes, but I've learned so much. And so I'd taken the Indigenous Canada course from the University of Alberta. It's free, it's online. You can pay a little bit if you want a certificate, you can pay more if you want credit, or you can just take it free. So during COVID, while I was working, I had a playing and I learned quite a bit. And I thought when it's time to enter this contest that I wanted to use a language or a word in First Nations language. So I'm on Treaty 6 territory, and Plains Cree is very common here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to Google it. And I Google it. And I'm a mom, and the kids are the center of my universe. I love my children so, so much. And that love is so powerful. So I thought, I'm going to name the star Mother and the planet surrounding it Child. But I had the word for child wrong. And I said, as I'm entering, I'm like, by the way, I am not a community member. I'm not First Nations, Métis, or Inuit. I'm just a space enthusiast. Can you help me connect with someone? So they connected me with Wilfred Buck. And he was actually supposed to be one of the judges, but he was unable to do so. So he got to be a participant. So the two of us together, he corrected the one word. So the sun means is Nikawe. And I hope I said that right. And the exoplanet is Oasis, so mother and child.
So
and
cool.
so the day before lockdown, he was here for a conference, and we went to the River Cree where he was staying, and we did that interview. And he told us that if they find any other planets around the star, they'll name them after family member names in Cree as well. So like Cookum or Muslim or something like that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It was one of 500 entries. So that is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and the power of social media, like I joined TikTok back in COVID to connect with my students.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've always had a teacher Instagram just for like connecting with parents and students and watching them grow up. And so being able to share it on that platform and then on Twitter and everywhere else, there was such a good response and support. So now, and Wilfred's coming now to the ATA Science Council conference this fall. We're having a two-eyed seeing theme, which is kind of like a Western and an Indigenous worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's our keynote speaker. He brings like this big inflatable dome that he lights up, and you get to come in and he'll tell sky stories, and it's amazing.
And do you incorporate a lot of the Indigenous teachings in your own classroom?
Yeah, as much as I can. It's always best when you have an elder. It's always best to come directly from the source. So I'm very, very mindful because I'm not a community member, that the sources, the books, the videos that I use are from Indigenous people, that I'm not repeating ceremony. I'm not, I had a braid of sweetgrass hanging on my poster or my display board thinking, hey, now kids can see it, they could even smell it or touch it. And they're like, yeah, that's a sacred medicine. It needs to be stored in a wooden box. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, I've learned a lot of those things, but like I do a chemistry of bannock lesson where they learn all about the chemical reactions that happen to make bannock. And then I make it at home now because it was the one year we made it at school. It took all day and it was bonkers. But the kids, it's so good. The kids will take jars of cream and make butter with Métis jig music playing. And, I used a video made by an Indigenous person to sort of teach that lesson. And then they'll learn the words for like flour and salt in Cree or whatever language I had in a video. So a lot of books that we use. It's been really good. So there's sky stories. I'm helping develop a lesson or a talk with a friend of mine, Billy Jo Grant, from kind of the St. Albert area. She's a Métis lady. And we're going to do about the science of bison through the ecosystems and the impact of overhunting and repopulating the prairies of bison and how that relates to science. So there's a lot of really cool knowledge to be gained there.
So, Amanda, you are going above and beyond. I mean, there's no question here whatsoever.
I want you as my teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm 40.
I didn't get any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
To go back in time.
Yeah, go back in time.
It's been a while since we've been in elementary school. A hot minute, at least.
Hot minute.
How do you grow this amazing community around education that you've done?
When I was a student, it was lots of notes and lectures. And like, we were the generation where they had the TV that they would pull out on a cart with like the gigantic discs. And, but we still did hands-on. And then when I became a teacher, again, when you're first learning, lots and lots of paper and worksheets because you're trying to figure it out. And then PowerPoint was invented and then smart boards, but still always trying to do some hands-on. I kind of came into my own where I became more comfortable with the curriculum because I'm a biology major. I planned on teaching Bio 2030, anatomy, cells, all of that. And then again, the economy for teachers was weird. And I got a job as a 789 science and math, French immersion and English teacher in Wetaskiwin. So I was teaching all this curriculum. I would go to the math teacher at lunch. He would teach me. I would turn around and go teach the kids. Like education has changed a lot since then. There's more inclusion now. We do have streaming in high school, but in our junior highs, we have a lot of kids from all different walks of life coming together.
Right.
And since COVID, the support for mental health, I believe it's more apparent. We put a lot more importance on mental health with kids because of anxiety, helping kids get diagnosed with whatever it is they are.
Right.
And whatever needs they have so that we can help every single individual child. So there'll be a time where I'm teaching science to 3 or 4 different levels all at once in one class. But what I love about it is that it's, especially with coding and science, it's easy to differentiate. You can have, like I said, a kid do something really simple and a kid do something more complicated. And as long as they go up from where they're at, it doesn't have to be. There isn't always equal. Kids hate presenting in front of the class, so I don't do that. When they present, I call it like a showcase. So we set the desks up in a circle. They each get to stand at a desk. I invite one of the younger classes to come in. So I sign up a schedule and teachers fight to make sure that they get their 15 minutes to bring their grade 3s or grade 5s or grade 6s to my classroom. And they walk around and then I walk around and they individually will present to me. And in some group dynamics, like it's always hard. They get an individual grade and a group grade.
Okay.
And there's some groups where that they threw it all together the night before, but because it's a hard deadline, and kids have a lot of trouble with deadlines since COVID and keeping up with getting things handed in, but because it's a hard deadline, because it's the showcase, they succeed. And some of them, their technology might not work, but if they can explain it, like that's the mark. And some kids get really anxious about even presenting to me. I was like, hey, go record a video, go into the other room, record a video. I'll grade that. Then it's one less thing to worry about during the class. Now we can't do projects all year. Like I do 2 or 3, like one big one, a space exploration technology for environmental monitoring through automation. And that like they have to build something that will help with the environment and climate change, but also with space exploration, solve a really open-ended problem.
Easy.
And then we have
just
smaller
solve
ones.
solve climate change and space exploration in grade 9 by the end of the semester.
Well, I've been telling like the CSA and like MDA robotics, I'm like, I'm sending you some kids. Just be ready. They're coming. The rest of the year, I strongly believe you have to touch the science.
Right.
And it takes a lot of time. I'm tired. Like it's a lot of work. But I'm also really lucky that I only teach grade 9 science the past 3 or 4 years. I'm not teaching 6 different curriculum. So when you're just teaching and you can focus on one thing, you can go bigger.
Among teaching this classroom, you're also a Canadian Space Ambassador. So again, you've talked about how many boards you're on and how many committees you're on. You're also Canadian Space Ambassador. How did that come about?
When you're known for a thing, people kind of seek you out. And so the Canadian Space Ambassador thing, I saw it on the internet somewhere. We were looking for speakers for conferences. I don't know if you guys know who Shauna Pandya is.
Yep. We actually talked to her the episode previous to you.
Oh my God, she's amazing.
Second last episode.
Okay, then y'all know how inspirational this. I'm after Shauna. Holy cow. Oh, I just got really warm. So I was looking for speakers and I saw this like list and I was like, huh. So I emailed them. I'm like, hey, can I apply? I've got a lot to share. I speak about space here in Alberta. I got to meet you at the Canadian Space Society Summit. I was like, let's see. And they're like, oh, sorry, no educators, just like, why not? And like a year later, they're like, just kidding, come on. And so
Someone made some.
I applied. Right. And then they add your name to this list. So like my name is on a list next to like Shauna Pandya and Chris Hadfield, Jeremy Hansen and Bob Thirsk and me. And basically it's just a database of speakers all over Canada that are happy to share their spark for STEM, space, anything like that.
Let's talk about that, being in that group of people. What's it like meeting folks like Chris Hadfield, Jeremy Hansen, who's going to be going to the moon soon, and, being on the same list as these people, hanging out with them as an Albertan? What's that like?
I'm very humbled to know that I am, definitely not on that same caliber as these amazing astronauts. And it's very, very humbling to be on such a list next to them simply by applying and sharing my love and my spark for space.
Annetta, you belong on that list. You really absolutely belong on that list.
You're so sweet. So you mentioned Jeremy Hansen. I'm going to get all warm again talking about him too. I've been able to meet quite a few astronauts over the year. Bob Thirst came to our school. We did a live downlink with David St. Jacques while he was on the International Space Station with Let's Talk Science Living Space. So I've met Bob quite a few times, and we've talked about Tomatosphere, and he's just amazing. Dr. David Williams, I got to meet him at the Canadian Space Society Summit. He was lovely. He talked to our kids. Him and Bob during COVID did an online thing with the kids to kind of compare the isolation and after the Apollo missions to what we were going through during COVID and quarantine. And Hadfield quite a few times. No restraining order yet.
Yeah, okay.
From Chris Hadfield. Well, I've met him a few times. I have a friend who was a flight attendant, and she sent a picture of him, and she's like, Amanda, I saw Chris Hadfield. And he's like, I asked to get a picture for you. And he's like, oh, a teacher from Alberta. Is that Amanda?
You have your reputation?
Well, it's like nice stalking. It's not harmful.
It's all just,
it's so inspirational. If I'm going to have this spark and this passion and this energy, I got to recharge by hearing these amazing stories. And so Jeremy Hansen, I met him right around the time that Chris Hadfield came home from the International Space Station on his last mission. And I was like tweeting with his handler. Her name is Magali Renaud. She's from the CSA. We talk all the time now. We're friends. And I was like, can I meet Jeremy? And she's like, yeah, just come early. I was an hour early. And I sit in the back.
Do you have your fold-out chair and you're kind of waiting for the door to open? Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like setting up the mic and they're testing things. And then he was done. And I just got to sit and chat with him. I got to ask him about his, bringing his family to Russia with him and training. I'm like, how are you going to fit in the Soyuz capsule? He's like 6'2" or something. Like, he's a tall dude. I'm like, he's not going to fit. And fast forward, I don't know if that was like 15 years ago. My significant other and I went to Houston and I'm texting the same lady. I'm like, hey, is Jeremy there? And she's like, I think so. Let me see if I can like connect you while you're there. I'm like, oh my God. Well, I'm at NASA and I'm like at the Space Center Houston, and like I'm trying really hard not to hyperventilate, not to cry while I'm walking around this amazing place. And we go and see the Saturn V rocket. I'm like, I even got a shirt made that says, Houston, I am the problem. and so we go, and she's like, sorry, I can't get a hold of him. He's probably pretty busy. So we paid an extra, like several $100s US each to have the private VIP tour about the astronaut training. So we get on this little tram with like 5 or 6 other people, Americans, and they're asking each of us while we're going over to like the neutral buoyancy lab, which is like the big pool that they train in, about like our space stories. So I mentioned that I'm Canadian and that Jeremy Hansen's going to be in the Artemis mission and how proud we are and da-da-da-da. And so we go to the neutral buoyancy lab and we look around, and like you can see the Canada arm in the lab. And of course we're pointing it out. And we're like, yeah, that's we did that. And they're all like, good job, Canadians. Yeah. And like, meanwhile, the entire time we were touring around, I'm like just looking for maple leafs everywhere. And like all the astronauts I know, it was like, where's Waldo? But like, where's Canadians? Anyway, so then we're going to go over to like where they have all the simulators. So like the flight simulators and like the Orion capsule simulator and there's a simulator to practice going to the bathroom. There's a toilet simulator. I got to sit on it.
You got to practice.
With a camera pointed at your bottom. We're just sitting there in the little foyer, and this beautiful, tall drink of water walks down the hallway. I look, my boyfriend pokes me, Amanda. And I look over at him, and he looks at me, and he goes, Amanda, Jeremy. He remembered me. He actually did a couple of video calls with my kids in the past too. And yeah, right. I was totally swooning. And I sees each other, and he gives me a hug, and all the Americans just go, like, Canada's small. We all know each other. It's fine.
For our audience, now I am 6 feet, 210 pounds, and I have met Jeremy, and he is taller and bigger than I am. And even I had to look up and I go, oh, you are
a man.
You're an impressive man. Yeah.
He looks like the real Buzz Lightyear, like that chin of his.
Yeah.
He's
like
so cute.
when you see him, like, that's an astronaut.
Right. And so we see him, and I'm like, I got really hot. He's starstruck. And I got out like a picture with him, and everybody else wanted a picture, but we're trying to talk. He's literally on a pee break. He's just trying to go to the bathroom.
He's not going to
and he's like,
he's going to the
right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Amanda, Magali said you were here, but I didn't hear back from her. And I was like, yeah, I wanted. He's like, oh man, I'm sorry. I don't have any time in my schedule. We could have maybe planned something. And I was like, that's okay, bud. You do good job. And meanwhile, I'm like elbowing my boyfriend, like, start rolling the camera. And so he starts videotaping. I'm like, come on, like, videotape this. So he does. And what do I ask him? I don't take like the questions I have about like Canadian contribution to space exploration and like no, I ask, are you excited to go to the moon?
That's a good question.
Yeah. No.
He's just like, yeah, a little. And you know what I do? I'm there with my boyfriend who paid to take me there, paid for this tour. Do I introduce him? No. Do I get a picture of him with Jeremy? No, sure don't. So now every time we meet an astronaut, I have to make sure to introduce the boyfriend.
Right. Yeah. This is my boyfriend.
It was so good. And then Jeremy actually called me on the phone, and I was teaching, to say, hey, Amanda, I got your number from Magalie, and I just wanted to say, sorry I didn't catch you and that we didn't get to talk. I was hoping we could connect, and maybe I'll try calling back later. And I play it for all my students, and they're like, that's not
right. Yeah.
That's my friend Jeremy.
That's so cool.
So
Isn't that wild?
For the audience out there, get out there, meet people, talk to people, and at some point in time, astronauts will be calling your phone and just be hanging out with them.
It's a pretty amazing thing when you can meet your heroes, right? Like people that you know that are involved in the world that you are, you are totally involved with. You are so important, and you never know who you can teach that will go off and do some amazing things. Be the next Jeremy Hansen.
Well, I always say, I want to get a maple leaf on the moon, and the only way to do that is to start planting those seeds young. So like Jeremy Hansen always talks about his teacher was his spark for space. And I was like, all right, one of these kids, I teach 100 or so a year, been in it for 20 years, one of them.
I have a question about TikTok, because you mentioned you have a TikTok presence now. And there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of like conspiracy theories. How do you combat the conspiracy theories that make their way through the classroom?
That's an excellent question. So since COVID, I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't know if it's the time and the climate with our neighbors to the south of us. But a lot has changed in regards to misinformation and to disinformation and conspiracy. Like, it just seems to be on a rise. It's epidemic in proportion compared to the past. I remember when I was a kid, teachers were held in this like high esteem, and we still are for the most part, but there's more criticism and there's more like, we're trying to brainwash kids and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh. So I think one of the ways that we combat that misinformation is teaching kids, what does good science look like?
Right.
Showing them examples where scientists call each other out, and like what vetted means and what peer-reviewed means. Finding graphs that show different media sources and which ones are the most politicized, which ones are more fact-based. I have a whole show or slideshow that I do on this every year with my students. And I think I had it all into like one lesson. I think I need to break it off into a few more because it's that important.
Right.
So showing them what good science looks like. There's a new model that it's new to me, at least the past few years. They call it CER, C-E-R, claim, evidence, reasoning. So what's a claim? What's something you saw? Let's find the evidence for it and then show the reasoning behind it to kind of connect everything around. And my own son will send me like Instagram reels or TikTok videos like, okay, Mom, but this one is real. And he sent me one about like chemtrails. And the way the video was made, the production value was high.
Yeah.
The way they were talking sounded like science, and it sounded very convincing. Like, obviously not to me, but I could see why any kid would find that very evocative, because it elicits conversations and it makes things exciting. And who doesn't like a little drama? And so then I have to like find counter arguments, and then I have to like show him. He's like, oh, come on, Mom, you're no fun. Like none of these are like every single time, like whether it's like nutrition things or, flat earth or whatever it is, being able to, kind of combat that, it takes just as much work. So having that social media presence where you can like share the good science, and I think that might have to be my next series, is how do we know if this is good science or not, and kind of debunking and demystifying things like that. Maybe that'll be a project. I'll have each of my students find something that they think is real adjacent on the internet, and then we'll debunk it and go through it all.
I think it's a fantastic idea, because there are real new things that when you first hear them, like, that doesn't sound real, that can't be real, but you dig into it and you say, oh no, this is a new invention, this is something that's coming up. And how do you tease that out of what was just made up? And I mean, that's a real skill, that's a life skill that people didn't need when we were growing up. We didn't need to do that. You go to the library, you get a book, and the book says X, and X is X.
I tell my students, question everything. Like I had a student who was questioning, because we don't teach religion in schools, but when we're teaching about evolution, I'm not going to teach about creationism, but I'm going to make space for you and your worldview. And I say, I invite you to go home and talk to your pastor, your priest, your rabbi, your parents about X, Y, and Z. And there are certain things that we can make space for and that I invite kids to discuss, but there's certain things I don't. I'm not going to tolerate climate change denying. Not. Zero tolerance for that. I'm not going to tolerate flat earth, and I'm not going to tolerate the moon landing being fake. Those things, absolutely not. And I'll like smite them with science. Like, here's the science. But I also tell the kids, I want you to challenge me. Like the conversations, especially here in Alberta around energy and climate and electric cars and the oil industry. I'm like, my dad was in the oil industry. Like, I have a vested interest in this as well. But also here we need to be part of that solution, part of that conversation on how to, you know, become more renewable and sustainable and da, 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 da. So yeah, I think having kids knowing how to respectfully discuss things, question the people around them, question their media, question their parents, politely and respectfully, question their teachers. So hopefully that comes through.
Ask the question, be like, well, I wonder more about this. This person I know is smarter than me, or they know more about that. I should talk to them.
Amanda, we have a segment here on this is our book club. We're putting on our book club hats. You have the honor
I need a hat
of picking the last book for our book club on the Albertas in Space podcast. And my question to you is, what's your book?
Going back to when you were asking about Wilfred Buck and naming the planet and Indigenous ways of knowing and being has been such a strong pull in my learning journey that I have to say Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. There's two versions. So there's the original version, and then there's a young reader version that's a little more condensed and has pictures, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a book about botany through an Indigenous lens. So Robin grew up learning about plants in nature in, I think, kind of around the Great Lakes area in the United States. And she would explore plants. But then when she went to university to study botany, it was always very questioned the way she looked at botany, like looking at the whole ecosystem and about, you know, reciprocity, giving and taking in nature. And she wrote this amazing book, and every single one, it'll talk about different plants, like the Three Sisters Garden. Have you ever heard of the Three Sisters Garden?
Yes, absolutely. I
don't.
Yeah.
Well, what is a Three Sisters Garden?
Oh, it's amazing. So from this book, I read this, but I've also learned from it from different sources. They talk about this way of companion planting. And basically you take corn, bean, and squash, and you plant them together. So I'm actually going to plant my corn this week so that when we start school at the end of September, we're going to plant in an earth box in my classroom, a Three Sisters Garden for Indigenous Peoples Day. National Day of Truth and Reconciliation at the end of September. And so I'll put on the audiobook from Braiding Sweetgrass, which, by the way, she narrates it herself. Her voice is like what I think Mother Earth would sound like. Like, it's so calming and caring and loving and thoughtful. It, like, if you're having a stress day, like, get the Audible version and just listen to her book. It's perfect. Anyways, so I put that on. I have kids coloring as they're listening, active listening, or doing Métis dot art while they're listening. And then we go in small groups and we plant this Three Sisters Garden. So corn grows really tall and strong. Corn is the oldest sister and the supportive one. And then next we plant Sister Bean. So in the same earth box, I'll plant beans. And Sister Bean will climb up Sister Corn and be supported by her older sister. But Sister Bean also fixes nitrogen into the soil and provides nutrients for Sister Corn. And then we have the baby sister, Sister Squash. And when Sister Squash blooms, she has big, beautiful leaves. And these big leaves will actually keep moisture in the soil and shade the roots and protect the plant and grow these beautiful squash. So I will have vines growing across my entire classroom, and we grew these beautiful squash. And then they flower, and there's male and female flowers, and you have to pollinate them, and I have to be the bee. Same thing with the beans, you have to pollinate them. And the amount of learning that came out of the Three Sisters Garden, even though we're not learning about plants or Indigenous botany in grade 9 science, we are learning about reproduction. We are learning about, you know, soil science and agriculture and sustainability. And so reading from this book and being able to apply it into your teachings is a way to really work towards reconciliation as an ally, because now I can have this source that is so inspiring and so beautiful. And yeah,
I think
it's a great book.
The Three Sisters especially, I think, is a really important lesson for space exploration, just because let's say we're going to Mars, there's obviously a lot less space, like you mentioned before. We have mass constraints. We have, resource constraints on water. Being able to plant plants that actually coexist and live together and help each other and take less space and less resources and less nutrients. I mean, that's an amazing lesson, and one that could, change mission profiles. And, I think there's an amazing learning in, Indigenous teachings to be able to tell us, here's how we take care of our land. When we go to new lands, when we go to the moon, we go to Mars, how do we take care of these lands? These are alien worlds. We need to start from scratch and figure it out. And I think, it's absolutely amazing.
Can't wait to check that book
You
out.
said that incredibly. Yeah, it's wonderful. And you're right. And being able to use the limited resources we have, but also to be the stewards of our land, right? To know what land we are on and how to take care of it. Oh, I'm so inspired right now.
We're inspired. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. We'll put the book in the show notes so that people can, whoever's watching, our audience, can go check it out, because I need some of that in my life. Some soothing, audible music too, especially if you're not a reader. It's great to have that option.
Amanda, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Couldn't think of a better guest to end this season out. Absolutely amazing.
We want to thank Amanda Green for joining us today as our last guest of season 1 to share with us her insight into cultivating the young minds of our future. Knowing that educators like Amanda exist reassures Albertans that our children are in good hands. If you'd like to follow Amanda on social media, you can find her on TikTok at Madame Amanda Green, and that's MME Amanda Green. Huge thank yous to Sandra Lynn for her writing research efforts throughout the whole season, James, our sound engineer, 6 Degrees Music and Sound, and Dan, our DOP camera, for helping us make this podcast look and sound amazing.
Albertans in Space is available to watch on Optic TV and through our YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like. We appreciate your support. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at AlbertansInSpace_podcast.
Creating this podcast has been an amazing experience. Thanks, Zach.
It's been fantastic.
I want to thank all of our guests for taking the time to talk with us. I've learned so much personally about space and the people in our city who are pushing boundaries and doing pretty incredible work. And our audience, thank you so much for tuning in and being with us on this journey. We hope you've learned something new. And most of all, if you want to be a part of the space industry or even just the conversation, you can. There is room for everyone in space. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
That's a wrap on season 1, and I guess we'll see everybody here again for season 2. Thank you.